You guys remember this bad boy? This was childhood.
So good. So good. I need a minute. Hey guys, how's it going? Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. Hope you've had a great couple of days. Before I get into the book that I'm going to be talking about today, I wanted to ask you guys a question. Have any of you heard of Halima Aden? That's her right there. So I recently wrote an article about her. If you guys haven't heard of her, you probably should. She is, I think, going to be a household name in a couple of years. Halima Aden is a Somali American model. She is the very first model who wears a hijab, who's been on the cover of Allure magazine, and she recently had her first Vogue cover, which was with Vogue Arabia. She's the very first ever beauty contestant in a pageant to walk on the stage in a burkini. She's doing a great thing for young women and young girls these days. She's also on Instagram, so you guys should follow her. I'm also gonna put a link down at the bottom of this video to the article that I wrote about her. So funnily enough, Halima Aden kind of has something to do with the book that I currently read that I'm very excited to talk to you guys about. I just finished it last night and I wanted to make the video today because it's all fresh in my mind and I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this book. So without further ado, where is the book? Alif, the Unseen by G. Willow Wilson, and it is published by Corvus Books, which is an imprint of Atlantic Books from Ormond House. Ta-da! First of all, can we just take note of what a lovely cover this is? And if you open the book like this, it's actually a circle. Isn't that cool? So how did I come across this book? Well, I was surfing the web and I came across a list that was posted of contemporary novels about the Muslim and Arab world that everyone should read, and I've come across a few of those lists, but this one was quite comprehensive and I'd heard of most of the books and I'd read most of them except for this one, Alif the Unseen. I'd never heard of this book, but I had heard of the author G. Willow Wilson. In another video that I'd done, and I'm going to put the link down below, of books that I picked up from the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature, and in that video I talked about the comic book Miss Marvel that was available during the festival, and that G. Willow Wilson is one of the writers of the book. So I wasn't aware that she'd also written a novel. I didn't know much about her. I just saw her name and I kind of judged because I was like, okay, this is an English woman or an American woman who seems to be very interested or fascinated with Islam or the Middle East. And then I did a little bit of research, not that much, before I purchased the book, and I saw that she was a convert into Islam and that she spent a lot of time in Cairo. And then I read the book blurb and I wanted to read it, so I went and I bought the book, and let me tell you, I was not disappointed. I'm gonna start off by elaborating a little bit more on the story. I'm not really into giving out spoilers, but I will be going into some detail about the plot. So you have been warned in case you want to know nothing else. Readers beware. Our protagonist is Alif, who is a 20-something-year-old young man who is half Arab and half Indian. He works as a hacker or a coder where he protects a lot of different parties from being censored. So he lives in this fictional city which is a cacophony of all different kinds of expats and immigrants from across the Middle East, from across the Arab world, from across South Asia, all living in this city. They're all different kinds of castes and classes and religions. Alif is dark-skinned and he lives in the part of the city that is more so for the lower classes, I suppose you'd say, or the lower middle class. There isn't really a middle class in this city he lives in. There's the aristocrats and the upper classes, and there's people like him, and there's people that are lower than him. So what basically happens is Alif is in love with a young girl called Intisar. And Intisar is from the upper middle class section of the city. She's an aristocrat and they met online for reasons that I'm not going to get into, so you guys can read it in the book yourself. Alif and Intisar cannot be together anymore, and Alif is quite heartbroken and decides to, as an act of revenge or a crime of passion, Alif creates accidentally this computer program that can identify anyone online simply when they write one sentence. I mean, it's pretty impossible, but it's quite a cool idea in theory. So when he accidentally creates this program, the government get a hold of it and start using it against him, and things kind of go topsy-turvy from there. Topsy-turvy? Did I really just use that word? Couldn't think of a better one. So while that is happening, Alif also gets a hold of this book, this mysterious, strange, ancient book. So this mysterious book is a compilation of a whole bunch of sort of short stories that are interconnected and is said to have originated from or been written by the jinn, who are, I guess, the second race or the other people who live in this unseen world that coexists within our own world. So with the use of this mysterious book and the fact that he has created this program and the fact that he's running away from a whole bunch of people, Alif finds himself traveling between this world and the unseen world and meeting characters from this world and the unseen world who all affect his life and help him to get out of this massive problem that he's found himself in. So that's basically what the story is about. I loved every page of this book, and I'm gonna tell you guys why right now. First of all, I think it was so clever and so interesting and so innovative, for me anyway, based on the fantasy books that I've read, how the world of fantasy and magic, a world that we know very well for those of us who read fantasy, a world that has been retold and retold in fiction so many times, is combined with the digital or the cyber world, because at some point these two worlds kind of collide within this book. And G. Willow Wilson does it so well. She stitches in these ideas and ingrains them into each other through the characters, through the problems, through dialogue, in a very entertaining way where you don't feel like you're being schooled or told what you don't know. A couple of very important world-renowned fantasy novels are actually mentioned within the story, like Philip Pullman's The Golden Compass from his Dark Materials series, and Narnia, and there's another book that I can't quite remember right now. They're all sort of mentioned in this book. There are some really interesting themes from those books that find their way into this story, which proves to me that G. Willow Wilson knows or is very well read in both fantasy, and she is very well informed of how things work in the digital world and how things work with coding and hacking. It's either really great research or she just has quite a well-informed knowledge about that. One element of this book that I really enjoyed is actually a very specific character, and that's the character of Dina. I really enjoyed reading all about her. Dina is Alif's neighbor, and she's his childhood friend, and she's veiled. So she wears a hijab and she has her face covered. I was a little bit weary because I found that in fiction generally, women who are veiled or have their face covered are always described in a very specific, very common, very stereotypical ways, and their function in the story is always the same. They're either the victim, or they're a spy, or they're sexualized or orientalized. But here, what was great is that Dina was such a strong, interesting, layered, intelligent, brave, smart character. And it's been made very clear in the story that it was her choice to wear the veil, actually. That despite the fact that she might appear timid or might appear oppressed to someone who might not understand the nuances of why somebody would wear a hijab or even wear the veil, she is the strongest character, in my opinion, in the story, and she carries the story through. Another really interesting character here is Vikram the Vampire, who is a jinn or a demon or sort of this like spiritual being. I don't want to give too much away about him because I thought he was very well described and very full of incredibly good oxymoronic character traits that made him full and real and mysterious. I thought he was great as well. What's also great about Alif the Unseen is the fact that there are so many massive ideas in here about religion, about faith, about belief, about decorum, about the relationships between men and women, that is done so subtly, so well through dialogue, through different characters that are incredibly well informed, that are very believable as well, which just again proves to show that G. Willow Wilson knows what she's talking about. She understands all these different pockets of world, the West, the digital world, the fantasy world, the East, and she combines them in a very realistic and confronting, arresting, engaging, and sometimes poignant way as well. I mean, at one point in this book, I had like that feeling in your throat, that achy, swelling up, eyes watery feeling. What was really interesting and very well done in this book as well were the descriptions of these creatures, the jinns themselves. There are so many different kinds of them, and the way that they were described and their behavior and how they talk and how they actually look was done so well and done in a different way that I've never read before. In conclusion, I would say this is a thriller that has fantastical elements, that's very urban and contemporary. I refuse to use the word exotic because I've read a couple of reviews where people have written that the story is set against a very exotic backdrop. I really hate the word exotic. I think it's just horrendous, and I think we should just stop using it. Because the scenery, the world, the city that she describes and how it looks is a city that exists all over the Middle East, and to me, I don't think of it as exotic. It's different than the West, or it's different than Europe, obviously, but exotic is such a terrible word, so I'm not gonna use that word. And I just wanted to make a point to say that you guys shouldn't use it either if you're talking about this book. I think as well one of the main themes in this book was the idea of knowledge and information and what that entails to somebody who has access to powerful knowledge and information, whether it be in the fantasy world, like a magical book, or whether it be in the digital world. And we all have access to information right now on the tips of our fingers. If we just go onto Google and Google anything, we can get information and learn things about anything, but it's about what you do with the information. And I think that is a very important theme that runs through this book, and the power of information and what that can do to you. It comes down to the person who has the access to this information, whether they allow it to corrupt them or whether they use it for corruption or whether they use it for good. I'm very surprised that I have not heard of this book before. It was published in 2012, 5 years ago, and this was the first time I'd heard of it. So I am so happy I came across it, and I am definitely going to be reading Miss Marvel after this. I haven't had a chance to read it. And I know that G. Willow Wilson has written another book called The Butterfly Mosque, which is more of a memoir where she details her conversion into Islam. I also ended up, after reading the book, researching more on G. Willow Wilson, and she's a fascinating woman. She has a great TED Talk that I recommend that you guys all go watch. I'm going to put the link down below, where she talks about the creation of Miss Marvel and the millennial generation and what she thinks the millennial generation are actually about. So in conclusion, this is a thriller. It's a love story. It is set against a contemporary urban backdrop that is not exotic. It has mystery, it has magic, fantasy, digital stuff. It's got everything. It's great. Read it, watch it. Watch it? It should be watched. It would be a great TV show or a great movie. So Miss G. Willow Wilson, really enjoyed this book. I don't think I can say that enough. If you ever happen to come across this video and read it, I would love to know, love to have a chat with you, whether it be on Twitter and direct messaging. I actually follow you on Twitter, by the way. It would be great if you could follow me back. We can be friends. So how does this relate to Miss Halima Aden? I just love the fact that the character of Dina in this book is challenging the idea of what a heroine is supposed to be. And I think Miss Halima Aden as well is challenging ideas of what a modern icon or a modern role model is these days for both Muslims and non-Muslims. Anyway, that's it from me. I started reading another book last night that has gripped me from the very first page. So I'm very excited to let you guys know what that book is in about a week. Please leave your comments below, like, subscribe. Please share this video. I need some more shares. I need more subscribers. I really want to get 50 more subscribers very soon. I'm bang on 50. I need to get 100 so I can change my URL thing to be like my name or something. So please help me out. Subscribe to my channel. It would be really awesome. And in case you guys don't know me, or if you've watched this whole video and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, my name is Maan. I am a writer based here in Dubai in the UAE, and I read a lot. I like going to art galleries and museums. I'm also a journalist. I cover things like art, literature, some fashion, entertainment as well. I'm a huge pop culture enthusiast. I also create these videos where I do content about books and other random things like chocolates and celebrities. Follow, like, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook. Maan Jalal is my name on all of those. Or you can go on my website, manofthehour.com, where I do have a blog that I have not updated in about a month, where I write short stories about funny things that happened to me. It's technically non-fiction short stories, whatever. See ya!